other for a little while now, but we sort of existed in different worlds, different ends of the same universe. Me being a physical, electronic ghost box builder, and Danny as an app developer. And over the years, we just kind of were watching each other, following each other, and over time we developed a mutual respect for each other. And to the point, is it not loud enough? Hello, hey, baby.
Talk.
I am talking now. All right, and we realized that we work well together, and we thought that we would take our collective knowledge between the both of us and combine it. So what's been going on for the last month or so is that we've been working together, coming up with new ideas and new techniques to help advance the field of instrumental transcommunication. Now, and I'm sure the reason why you're here is because you understand what this is about. Instrumental transcommunication, we use instruments. Now, they don't have to just be a ghost box or an app. It could be any type of mechanical or electronic device that is used, manipulated as a means to communicate with another plane of existence. In my case, it happens to be with radios. I first became enamored using ghost boxes about 7-8 years ago. And when I discovered them, I thought, this is fantastic. Now, I've always had a fascination with other voices from other planes, hearing them through, like in my ear, out of the air, or hearing them through devices such as like fans or the sound of the wind. And I grew up in radio. My dad is a radio engineer. And as a kid, I was taught how to use ham radios and Morse code and be an amateur radio guy. And throughout my life, I've worked in electronics, constructing specialized microwave test equipment used in Alzheimer's research. So I figured, now, Danny says, well, I couldn't afford a ghost box, so I decided to make an app that mimicked a ghost box. He was quite successful at it. I sort of had the same problem. I didn't have any money at the time. The only nice ghost boxes you can get were built by Frank Sumption, and he only made a few at a time, and they were very expensive. So I didn't have the $400 or $500 to pony up to buy one of his boxes. So I figured, hey, I got the electronics experience, and I got a feel for what I want to hear, how it's supposed to work. So I went ahead and constructed my own box, and it was came out very well. It was very successful, and next thing you know, I had a business, out of nowhere. People started emailing me saying, "Hey, I like your box on your video. Can you make me one?" And I figured, well, heck, I could quit my crappy job at the vinyl company and do this full time. And that was 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and I'm still at it. And I'm just not into this just to make boxes, to make money, and to get famous. To me, it's a passion. Like what Danny says, we do this 24/7. I have a lab in the basement. I have all my equipment set up down there to not only fabricate ghost boxes, but to use them and to set up different environments so that we can develop our technique and evolve as ghost box practitioners. So, and this is a very exciting time for us right now. We feel like we're making advancements, and it's baby steps. Some people, they get into the game and they think they've created something fantastic, when really all they're doing is borrowing from stuff that's been done before by us old timers for a long time ago. We're already way beyond that. When I first started doing this, I had a very simple ghost box that ran on an FM tuner, and it had a very simple sweep circuit in it. But it worked. It wasn't great, but it got good results. It sounded good, and it resonated with people. But I felt like I needed to keep going beyond that and coming up with new stuff. And my next box had an echo circuit in it that would feed back through a microphone.
They were.
They are.
And it just kind of came together, you know. It was good. It was very good. I was very proud of my work, but I still felt like I needed to keep moving on. And excuse me, over the summer, I was designing a new box, and one of the things about Ghost Box builders is that the big majority of them stick with the FM band. And the reason that is because it's easier to make a tunable radio in FM than AM, because it's a different type of circuit. So nobody had an AM Ghost Box out there. And I felt like a lot of my customers would come to me and say, well, I live in a rural area with very little FM radio reception, and I buy your box, but I can't use it because there's no material from the radio waves for it to work with. But if you could make an AM box, I would buy that, because we got plenty of AM stations around here to work with. So I was like grinding away with help from my father, the RF engineer, to develop my new box, which I have a name for it yet, but it's a secret for right now. And so I'm calling it the question box. And when we first tested the box, I realized that this box was completely clean. Absolutely no static in it whatsoever. It's just pure voice, crystal clean response. And the beauty of that is that since it's so clean, you can do stuff with it. You can run it through an effects, through a delay, to help give it a more organic sound, and that helps boost the response even more. So that's my newest box, and it's just starting to go into production, and I'm really excited about it. So, I mean, to me, this is a journey. And the thing is that with me, I don't know if it applies to Danny or other builders, but it's been almost like a path has been cleared for me to go in this direction and do this and go for it, because it seems like I can't screw up at this. You know, everything I do seems to come out good. And I'm not saying, you know, that it's an ego thing or anything, but for someone who has always had challenges and had to cross over huge hurdles throughout his whole life, the minute I got into Ghost Box building, it all seemed to fall into place. You know, meeting Julius, meeting Chris, meeting Danny, all the people in my life who support me and get the work. You know, so it's been very fortunate. I'm very happy to be here tonight discussing this stuff with you. Excuse me for a second. So, of course, there are different types of ghost boxes out there. Now, I'm sure a lot of you who dabble in ghost boxing probably have like a PSB7, which is, anybody have a PSB7? You do, Rose, yeah. Which is a decent ghost box. And I don't want to knock it at all. It's perfect for the beginner. But to me, it's far from an optimal device. Okay. A lot of people who think that they can get rich and famous by mass-producing ghost boxes, they're not looking at it from the right angle. And it's from the angle of someone like me who does this all the time and has a feel for it. I know how the boxes should sound and how the responses should be formulated from sheer experience from all the years I've been doing this. And so to me, when I make a box, I put all my heart and soul into it. I don't let that box leave my bench until I know it's perfectly functioning the way it should be. And that's why it's a boutique box. You know, they cost more, but they give good results and they last a long time. And it's something to be very proud of because this is what I like to do. You got a question, Bill?
No.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk.
All right.
Later.
So you're here tonight to learn about ITC and to see experiments. Now we got a few experiments set up here. Danny has his tablet, his phone with all his apps loaded up on it. And I brought a selection of boxes here. The one on the center here with the little bar sticking out of it, that's the Whisper box. And that's actually another collaboration between Danny and me. You've seen a bit of it on the video. It's basically a live EVP generator based on an atmospheric electrostatic energy. It uses a Tesla coil, a crystal detector unit inside of it, run through dual stereo echo loops, and that just sort of creates that energy stream which helps facilitate communication. The one next to that, that's the prototype for my new AM radio box, and we'll be demonstrating that. And we got a couple PRD 1000s here to display. And also, we're going to be running a video ITC loop, which is something completely different, a different form of ITC. Now, how this works is you have a camera, and you have a screen to project the image on, and the camera picks up the image from the screen and regenerates it over and over and over again. And this creates, again, sort of the random slurry that makes the ghost box work, but in video form. So if you're epileptic, you're prone to seizures, we'll try to set it up that it's not blinking too bad. But we're going to be playing with that. I encourage everybody to record what we're doing and listen to it when you get home. If you have questions, now the box works in mysterious ways. In my personal experience, I find that it's easy from a ghost hunting angle. If you want to talk, if you're in a location, you want to talk to residual sounds and energy that's imprinted on the environment, or talk to active spirits that are attached to that property, it works well with that. It also works well as a psychic divination device. That's what PRD stands for, psychic radio divination. You can use it to talk to try and pull through and make contact with specific people who may or may not be attached to you or the property you're at. Either famous people in history, celebrities, or just family members, you know, that have passed on. You can use it in that capacity as well. And the other way which is used is just sort of like what Danny was touching on earlier, as an open sort of interdimensional portal where you're just receiving intersectional lines of dialogue, chatter, residual sounds that could be coming from anywhere. You don't know where it's coming from. You can't really communicate with it because it doesn't really respond to you. A lot of times the box will be chatting with itself. You'll have two voices coming through and one's talking and the other one's talking back. They're not paying attention to me. You know, they're just, so you never really know what you're going to get with the box when you're using it. Another tip when using the Ghost Box is it's not a toy, okay? When you turn that thing on, you shouldn't expect it to always produce results. Now, I've noticed in my personal experience that when I'm laying in bed or I'm sitting at my bench or working or doing anything, I'll all of a sudden get an urge, like a need to do a session. And when I do that session, I always get great results. When I figure like, okay, well, in a situation like this, I got a crowd of people, I got to entertain them, you turn it on, you get nothing out of it, which I'm sure shit doesn't happen. Hope this happens tonight. It's extremely disappointing. You get nothing, no response, nothing. And that's also what helps prove that it works, because it doesn't always work. But when it works, it's fantastic. All right, now the video I showed you, the clips of my sessions, that's just a tiny fraction of everything I've recorded over the years. I got hours and hours and hours of the Ghost Box where it says nothing. You know, you may get one response, but you keep listening, you get nothing. But I got other videos where you're listening to it, and you got over 200 responses in a 3-minute period. They just keep firing it at you, bam, bam, bam. You know, and that's what it's really magical. That's what makes this exciting for me. You know, I've always had an interest in other things that are not of this world, and to me, this is a perfect outlet for it. You know, I feel like I have the skill and the ability to pull it off, and that's what I'm doing. I devoted my life to this, just like Danny has. And not a lot of people can say that they do this 24/7. You know, it's not my real job. You know, like some people. But so like what Danny was saying about checking all your preconceived notions out the door. Yeah, because anything can happen with this stuff. When you're listening. When we're giving a demonstration, you're listening, don't listen for the obvious sounds, okay? I've noticed with his stuff that a lot of the best responses are actually in the reverb, right? They're not in the immediate sound that you hear, but they're in the decay of the reverb. Or with my box, the voices may not be coming through the obvious broadcast chatter, but in the in-between sounds, what we call the chuffing. It skips from station to station. Voices can be high frequency, they can be low frequency, they can come out fast, they can come out slow, they can be backwards, they can manifest themselves in a lot of different ways. And a lot of modern ghost boxers, what they try to do is they try to eliminate all that and get a device that only sounds in a very middle tone that you can immediately pick up. And that's fine and good, but you're missing out on a whole plethora of other information that could be going on if you just had the system wide open, where you're hearing all the different frequencies. The voices will be layered on top of each other. You'll get a voice, maybe a woman's voice in a high-pitched tone, with a man talking at the same time underneath her, saying something completely different. So it can be maddening trying to decipher all this stuff all the time. But once you've done this for a while, you develop a feel for it, in that you can manipulate the session well enough to get spirits or entities or whoever you're talking to come through one at a time. You know, show a little respect, talk one at a time. Oh, I just want to talk to that person, and you can come through more and talk to us more. You know. So, and you get that with experience. You know, a lot of people who get into this, they dabble in it for a little bit and they don't get any results, and they think, oh, this is junk. Forget about it, you know. But the people who stick with it and get good at it, once they develop their ghost box ears, as I say, they always, they're lifelong. They're in it forever, you know. What's up, Bill?
You mentioned ghost box ears.
Yeah.
It's your ears, your eyes.
It's like learning a language,
Right. You,
right? They don't always come through talking to you in a recognizable voice,
right.
because they manipulate bits and pieces of the radio band.
I've always said, you have to put your time in.
You gotta put your time in.
They have to get used to you. The first
Right.
time you meet somebody, okay? You don't know that person.
Sure. You gotta
And
develop a
so
relationship.
you're gonna look at that person, and they're like, I don't know this guy. So I'm not gonna have a personal relationship with them. But if you meet them over and over and over again, pretty soon you get comfortable with them, and they get comfortable with you.
Yes, they do.
And that's what, that's where I say, well, you gotta put your time in. And
Right. Well, in that one clip, you hear me talking to a spirit named Phil.
Yeah, put your-
Now,
yeah, put your
Phil lives
time-
in my house.
people say, I've been here, I've been there,
Right.
there's nothing going on. This is haunted, that's haunted, blah, 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 right? You know, you can go to a place and say, yeah, I've been here, I've seen the spirit, I've been there, there's no spirits. Put your time in.
Who's that?
They get to know you,
Oh,
you get to know them.
Right. Like I'm trying to say. Okay. This
What's that?
spirit
First time I
Phil. He lives in our house. Okay, and we've been communicating with him for about 6-7 months now.
Right.
But at first, it was very weak. We just get a little bit of him here and there. And just recently, that second to last session, he was a lot more comfortable. The last few sessions we did, he was a lot more comfortable with us. And at one point, he even gave me his full name. After 6 months of talking to this spirit, I finally got him to tell me his last name, which is Garraway. I got to learn more about the story, about why he's there, about you know, what his purpose is in that house, what his relationship is to his house. But like Danny said, you know, it may not have happened in the past, it may not have happened yet. It could be in the future, because we were hearing a lot of real negative stuff about people being abused, children being abused. We've had psychic mediums come through our house and tell us that there were, you know, all kinds of bad things were happening there. I think about it, like, you know, one person even said they're performing illegal abortions in our bedroom. So it might be a little far-fetched, you know. I'm thinking about it, you know, this is a pretty normal-looking house in a pretty normal neighborhood. There's no way all this horrible, evil stuff could have been going on in there. You know, and the house is 90 years old, so who knows? Yes.
Before back to the video, what is the idea to have happen? You explained how it looks
Yes.
through, but what is the end
You'll
result supposed
get
to be?
flashes of images. Okay, now Danny and I were experimenting with this very setup in our basement, and one of the images that we captured was a photograph that looked like the back of my house, taken many, many years ago. Oops, sorry. We'll step back. The back is the shape of our house. You can see the windows, you can see the dormer and on top of the roof, and it looked like there was a tree to the side, which is no longer there. And the back was a different color, it was a darker color. I swear it was the back of our house. It only popped up for a frame, a single frame, and it was gone. So you have to look through, that's the downside of video ITCs, you have to scan through every single frame of video to see what pops up. And then you get images of faces will pop up through as well. Profiles, partial faces, where you just see half the face, sometimes full figures. but it's a laborious process. Now this is this is a vintage super VHS camera that we picked up at the thrift store a couple of weeks ago, and I got a tape in there. My buddy sent us some SVHS tape, so we're going to record all this, and then when we get a chance, we'll dump it onto the computer and go through it frame by frame, see what we get. But the other thing is that at any time when it's going, if you just want to walk up to it and think a question or ask a question, and then at the moment take a photograph of it, go ahead. You might capture something that way. Yes, Allison.
Have you had any success just using white noise?
Yes. The Whisper Box is a white noise generator. It just sources it differently than a lot of other white noise generators do. You could take any radio and then tune it to an empty frequency in between stations where you're just getting static through, and concentrate it on it. You can start hearing voices pop through it. They use that white noise to make sound, and with the Whisper Box, it just uses a different source. It pulls the static out of the air and then amplifies it. All right, you sir.
Well, I was just going to mention about the ITC and what you're trying to capture stuff in the video. It's very reminiscent of what Ted Sirius did. If you remember with his thoughtography, when he would think of images and actually implant them onto undeveloped Polaroid film.
Right, and a lot of the images you get like that sort of resemble that look as well. Now the video ITC was developed by a guy named Klaus Schreiber, and a German guy. Germans are crazy. They actually take this stuff seriously. They have an institute over there that has PhD scientists. They try to break this down into scientific terms. So Klaus Schreiber actually came up with this method. The Ghost Box. It was developed by Frank Sumption, who's been gone from us for a little over a year now, bless his heart. And Danny pretty much invented the spirit talking app market. So you're going to be carving his face in the ITC Mount Rushmore. But years after he's gone to hell. So all right, come on. Another question? Anybody?
Have you come up with any ways of incorporating audio into the video to see if you can get them to correlate?
Oh, putting the Ghost Box in with the video?
Or some form of audio?
Some television sets you could plug that have an external audio in, and somehow the Ghost Box, the interference of the Ghost Box affects the TV signal, so it does kind of have an effect on it. But I don't think they're related in any way. You know what I mean? I think running the Ghost Box separately while running the camera setup at the same time seems to work pretty good. Because you're engaging the spirit's manipulating the sounds out of the box, and hopefully they'll be able to manipulate the images through the camera as well.
Have you ever found any images that go along with anything that's coming onto the spirit box? Not yet.
Well, it depends, because when you're talking to a spirit and you see a face correlating with it, you don't know if that face is the spirit you're talking to, or it could be somebody else.
Yeah.
When you open that realm up, you get a lot of different voices. Once you start attracting one spirit, others start coming as well. Because you become a beacon for it.
Yeah.
So it could be anybody trying to get through at any time. One last question. Yes, Ida.
I was wondering, have you thought about like the little M3 players or something like that? If you could do like a little box out of that for like girly stuff,
The girly stuff?
Yeah, like the girls that bring around a big box.
You want it to vibrate?
Now boy!
I want pink.
But no, I mean, those like the little small things,
So we'd be like, well, you can get like these little armband radios. There's hack radios, okay, Ghost Box hacks. little transistor radios, you pop them open, you bend the pin, close it back up, and you basically, you're disabling the mute on the scan function. So it'll just, you press the scan button and it scans. Very simple, very easy to do. And they're functional, but you can get I got a whole bag full of them at home. I'm going to make you one. I'll make you one. You know, the little armband Rockman that you wear on your wrist when you're jogging, listening to disco. You know. Do you have any disco? You know, that's the fun of it. You can mutilate existing products to do what you do, or you can build them from scratch, which is what I do. You know. All right, okay, it's 8 o'clock, and we're going to fire up everything in a little bit. Do you want to get started with the Echo Box? I want to take a sinking break.
Yeah, I was thinking, I assume people need to use the restroom and stuff, so why don't we,
Take a 5-minute break.